Hi, today in Conversations We Needed with Our Parents When Growing Up, we're going to talk about the day I thought I would die.
Yeah, we had a listener write in, when I was 16, I had to have a big knee surgery that was unexpected. I was terrified and truly thought that I would die in surgery. I could never get them, my parents, to see how truly afraid I was. I had a few medical issues as a young child and in junior high. One was a thyroid issue. Once I began treatment, I grew quickly and gained weight. Doctors would always caution me not to gain too much weight as I grew. I was mortified when they would say this, but again, never thought to have the conversation with my parents about that.
So what do you think that they're needing, babe?
Yeah, to be heard, to have their fear acknowledged, validated, that it wasn't unreasonable for them to be afraid, not knowing. I think there is an assumption because we're such a medical heavy culture that people should just know, and it's not a big deal and whatever. But,
Yeah.
but I don't think we're really educating anybody, not just kids, about what that process looks like and the fear that can come with it.
Yeah, I think it's easy as parents to want to minimize it ourselves
Sure.
so that it's not so scary for us. Mm-hmm. And in that process, are teaching our children not to be allowed to have their, feelings and to block themselves off from their experience in their bodies, as we are too, right?
Right.
Because it is hard. To me, the initial reaction, I want to say, "Oh, it'll be okay," It's going to be, you're going to be okay, to comfort, and I'm not sure that's what is really needed. What do you think is needed more than just that?
I just think it makes sense that you're afraid. You've not done this before. You don't know what to expect. You see all kinds of things on television and in the news that, of course, would be terrifying. Of course you're afraid. How could you not be afraid? Yeah, I think that.
Well, and I think some curiosity, too, as the parent, to not to avoid, but to help your child get into their body and underneath just the surface fear, which is, tell me more about that. What are you afraid of?
Yeah, are there specific things you're afraid of? Yeah.
Because what we think automatically may be their fear may not even be close.
Right.
Right? Going in for leg surgery or eye surgery, for example. That's your son's example. I thought I was going to die.
Right.
When, as the parent, you might assume that they thought that they might not be able to walk or play sports or be blind, whatever it may be. But no, it could be all the way to that far end of the spectrum for a child. And without having asked, the child doesn't get the experience. And a parent, you're just making assumptions, and everybody's just kind of brushing it under the rug, I think. Not in a necessarily a bad way, but in making those assumptions and not holding space.
Yeah, it's not really giving them an opportunity to process what their experience is.
Right.
Right. They're just keeping it inside. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's really important. Just, again, it comes back to Piglet, just sitting next to Winnie the Pooh, you're scared, I'm here with you.
Yeah. 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 And that it's okay.
It's okay.
Being afraid doesn't make us weak. Right. It's just human. It is hopefully not something we do on the regular. So,
right.
Yeah. I would say going back to the weakness thing, that I have to be brave in order for other people to feel okay. That can be a lot to carry, even if you're a teenager. Because I don't know. I mean, parents aren't always dismissive. Parents can be not grounded. Right? They can have
Right,
their
dive
own
right
fear
in. Exactly.
and so the child may feel like they need to carry the burden of that, of,
Interesting. It's
being
true.
grounded. Yeah, that could be a piece too. So, yeah, just thinking about that. So for us as parents to acknowledge our own experience and to do what we can do to get grounded if we are afraid to talk to somebody else, an adult, a therapist, someone, that we can process our fear. Because I'm sure there are plenty of parents that take their children in for surgery that have their own fear of something happening that is devastating.
Sure.
So I think we can avoid it. I think you mentioned that a little bit. The parents can be not equipped to handle that level of emotion, their own fear of their own death.
Right. Their own vulnerability to what you know, is inevitable in life. I mean, there will be health challenges.
Yes, there will be health
and
challenges.
it could go to the far end of the extreme and will ultimately for all of us. But the question is, are we so afraid of that we either avoid it altogether and tell them just to suck it up, or minimize their experience?
Yeah.
Or do we show empathy at the same time without having to fix it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, doing our best to stay aware, to be grounded, try to be present with them, like you were saying, be curious. I think one of the other reasons we may avoid it is that we think that we may increase their fear by talking about it.
Right.
Instead of having the conversation, like maybe saying something like, would it be helpful for you to talk about it? Some people may say no, it would not be helpful. Other people may say yes, it would absolutely be helpful. So being curious. We can have our own story from our own childhood. If we had medical stuff where we were trying to demonstrate emotion and it was dismissed, or we were told we were overreacting. And so then as a parent, we could be unintentionally perpetuating that story,
Right.
from our own childhood.
Sure.
So, yeah. So when I think about, what was the listener really looking for, that their experience matters, even if their, emotional experience is really high around it.
Right.
Right. I think
It
that
may be completely irrational to somebody standing on the outside, but working hard as a parent not to minimize that, I think is important.
Yeah,
but it is a
absolutely.
balance, like you said. You don't want to dive in.
Right,
either.
and
It's just learning to be able to hold that space.
right. And so when I think about the diving in emotionally, acknowledging their fear, but also recognizing that oftentimes they need us to co-regulate. So can we, again, get ourselves grounded? What do
Right.
we need to do to take care of ourselves so that even if our child is afraid, that our energy can be steady and calm?
Well, and when I
Even
say
if-
dive in, I'm talking about our own fears
Oh,
for
right.
our child.
Right.
It could be a mortal danger, or it could be maybe they'll never walk the same again. There may be all kinds of effects, or I'm just afraid
Sure.
of surgery generally. And so I think in holding space for your child, you do have to hold, at least recognize, hey, I have my own reactions to all of this at the
Sure.
same time. I don't want to dive into my fear and reaction. But walk me through this. I also don't want to minimize the totality of everybody's experience. So how do we walk that line as a parent?
I think it depends on your child.
Your child and the moment too.
And
Read the room.
Right. So I'm going to go back to do your work to get grounded, to be present, to be curious. What are you, the parent, asking yourself? What am I most afraid of? asking your child, what are you most afraid of? You know, both of us having that experience, being curious. But yeah, I think it depends on the child. But being curious is, I think, the best we can do.
Right.
And probably having these conversations before we're at the hospital in pre-op. I think that would be good too. So we've got time to prepare if that's possible, right? I know some surgeries are unexpected, but not waiting until the last minute.
Right.
That we can talk about medical issues. I think some families don't. And so that can be there too, you know, that there's been some story that's been reinforced around shame or embarrassment about having a medical issue, like somehow that makes you weak or something, you know. I just know that some families avoid conversation about it. What?
Oh, I'm just remembering, you know, I had appendiceal cancer, and we talked about it and didn't, you know, the decision as a couple was to not tell my daughter. But my wife at the time was telling other people, and it got back to my daughter. So that made it even worse. And even to this day, she has, whenever death comes up, she's like, I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to talk about that. And so this is bringing to mind some of my own work that I need to do with her. And I think we do need to have that conversation, because you see it, or I see it. I shouldn't speak for everybody. I see it very differently at 57 years old than I would have at 45 even.
Sure.
And especially at 25.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think it might be really helpful. Although difficult, and she's avoidant. But I would, I'm tying it back to that, not, you know, us not sharing with her, but she heard anyway somehow.
Right. Well, not
And then
surprising.
she was left adrift at sea,
Yeah.
thinking Dad's going to die. And just taught, what a mess.
Yeah.
What a mess I made of that one. But that's parenting, right?
Yeah. Well, we are going to make a mess.
And what I can do now is recognize it, because it just happened at our holiday dinner. And somebody started, a bunch of old fogies sitting around,
Talking
and
about
death
health
came up
issues
somehow.
and death. Yeah.
And she did. She was over in the corner. I don't want to talk about that.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
she needs to. I think we as parents, whether it's your child's issue or your own issue, whatever it is, to open up those doors of communication and face. In advance. Hey, these things can happen in life, right? And let's talk about it.
Right. Yes.
And it's age appropriate, of course, right? And then just recognizing our joint fear. It is scary.
It is scary.
Right?
Yeah. So having these conversations now,
Yeah.
you know, should your child be having a surgery, encouraging them, you know, to share with you what they're experiencing. If they acknowledge fear, you know, just naming it, like that sounds scary.
Yeah, and I think this one I really like, which is I didn't know how to talk about fear or death when I was your age.
Yeah,
you know, how
absolutely.
Do you, what's it like for you? Is a great opener for both of you, and let your child speak.
Yeah, you know, normalizing fear in our body. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, we have these biological reactions that happen when we're afraid, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's information. It's teaching us.
Yeah, and I think there's another really good piece of advice, which is having your child describe physical symptoms, right? Racing heart, nausea, tears, those sorts of things, and then linking it to feelings. How does that help?
I don't think most of us have true awareness of our body experience.
Yeah.
And so for me, being curious with our children in this particular situation, you know, what are you feeling in your body? And, you know, let's say they say, oh, my stomach hurts, or, you know, you see that they have tears, or, you know, they seem very anxious, being able to help them identify it as more practice for us becoming more connected to our body experience. I think absolutely very, very helpful. Yeah, more practice.
It also helps ground. They're in their body at that point instead of whirling around up in here, right?
Saying it out loud.
Where fear
spins.
really thrives. Right.
Yes. Oh, it does.
All of those possibilities. Or certainties, to a child especially. Yeah.
Yeah. So having this conversation, as you were just saying, no matter when, right?
Right.
You can still have the conversation
it's never
now.
too late as parents.
Yeah.
I really think that's true.
Yeah, even thinking about having that conversation with her now, like, I'm sorry that I was unintentionally reinforcing that this wasn't something to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, not what I was wanting to do, but reinforcing avoidance of physical pain, emotional pain. That somehow when something's wrong with our body, that should be avoided, because that can create some, I don't know, story. We may not want it to, but around shame,
Tell me more about that.
Oh, just, when things are avoided, it's like, oh, there's something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with me, or if I have that, we shouldn't talk about it. So again, there's something wrong with me. I know we don't think about it that way, but, people do have so much shame if there's something that their body is struggling with.
Right. And then to disconnect from it and
right.
brush it under the rug is it just plants. I mean, and it's not even coherent, but it's just talk about just this underlying anxiety that you just packed in. Right. You can work on later if you're lucky.
Right. Future therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, we live in a time, again, of a lot of medical focus. And so if we can continue to have these conversations, I think it's helpful. Yeah. For us to be more grounded when we're going in, even just to a doctor's appointment. It doesn't have to be just surgery. To be present, to be curious, to name our fears. Teaching them medical advocacy, trust in their own body, knowing that our body is trying to keep us alive and do it as efficiently as possible.
Right.
So helping them, build some emotional resilience around what our body's trying to do. I don't know that many people think about our body that way, that it's trying to keep it alive and do it as efficiently as possible. I think a lot of people carry the belief that our body's trying to kill me. So,
well, it's something that I'm working on, right? Still that relationship with the body and recognizing it and trying to, instead of being angry at what I see as failing, right, aspects, to try to work through that. So I get it. It's a lived experience and living experience.
Yeah.
This is an interesting thought that safety is not the absence of fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
If we could teach ourselves and our children that I can be afraid, but I can still be safe. And it really is what is safety. And I think it comes back to connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So risk having the conversation. Yeah. Even if it's messy, even if it's not perfect, it's okay. Yeah. Just have the conversation and be curious. So, okay. Well, next episode, the everyday life stuff that nobody taught me. So we'll see you in a little bit.